Welcome to the Haney podcast. Happy to be with you today. I am recording on nofilter.net today, and this will also be broadcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. But if you haven't been to nofilter.net, you got to go and check it out. A lot of great programming on there, a lot of great shows. And like the name implies, there is no filter on nofilter.net, which is what I love about it. So this is Ryder Cup week, and it is time for me to give you a little Ryder Cup preview. Now, I've been talking about the Ryder Cup leading up to it in the last few weeks. This event should be a great event. It typically is. It gets people riled up in the golf industry. The golf media loves the Ryder Cup because it's something that extends the golf season past the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup and most importantly, past the major championships. So I always like a Ryder Cup year. I'm right there with everybody in that. President's Cup doesn't do anything for me. Ryder Cup, yeah, Ryder Cup's for real. I'm not live or die Ryder Cup. I'm not live or die United States winning Ryder Cup. I just like to see golf win. That is my number one thing. I always want to see golf win. And golf wins when it's a Ryder Cup year, and golf wins when it's a close Ryder Cup, one that has some drama going into Sunday. Of course, NBC, whoever's doing the telecast, they're gonna try to give you drama no matter what. I mean, U.S. will be up by 8 points, and they'll tell you how, Europe needs to get off to a good start or whatever, or, vice versa. Who knows what the score will be leading into Sunday. But unless it's fairly close, I mean, you have these, Brookline, I got a feeling, Ben Crenshaw, great comeback. That kind of story happens very rarely. It does happen, so you can hope for it, but more likely you're going to have a close match. You want a close match, and that's when golf wins, regardless who wins. I mean, I think you could argue that it benefited golf when Europe had a good run with the Ryder Cup, when they were winning Ryder Cups, because a lot of people just kind of took it for granted the United States was going to win, and that kind of puts you in the category of President's Cup where nobody cares about it because the U.S. wins all the time, and it's not even close. And in fact, the big theme this year at the Ryder Cup is the fact that the U.S. hasn't won in 30 years on foreign soil. I don't know, every team's different. I mean, this is like when they talk about football, this team's history winning here. I mean, what does that have to do with anything when all the players are different? And not all the players are different on the Ryder Cup, but I would go so far as to say the majority are different if you just go 2 Ryder Cups back. So I don't think the history means anything. I don't think the home course advantage thing is a big deal. People say, they get the home course advantage. They get to set up the course however they want. They don't get to set up the pins. They get to determine like how wide they want the fairways, how deep they want the rough, that kind of stuff. When the U.S. had a bomber squad and they had DeChambeau, they had Dustin Johnson, they had, Koepka, and they had, what was considered to be more of a bomber squad, guys that could hit it out there forever and, hit it anywhere, go find it. They tricked up the course in France, made it really tight, made it really, shorter, kind of took driver out of the players' hands. And that was, then all of a sudden everybody's like, home course advantage makes a big deal. And, the U.S. did the same thing at Hazeltine a little bit, where they, opened it up and let them go, bombs away. Pins in the middle of the green and driver everywhere and wide fairways. And then people said that favored the U.S. Well, I tell you what really favored the U.S. What favored the U.S. is they had a much better team. What favored Europe when they played in France is that the teams were very close. What favors the European team this time is not much other than the home crowd. Now, I don't know, personally, I don't think the home crowd has that big of an effect on the event, and I'll explain why. I mean, you'll hear the Europeans, cheering when we miss a putt or we lose a hole, and the cheer will be loud. But these are all great players. They're great champions. They've won a lot of tournaments. They love sports. All the Ryder Cup players love sports. And one of the things I think they love about sports is that, you have to perform under all different kinds of conditions. And in golf, it's pretty much just such a hush-hush sport. People don't cheer against you. And I honestly think the guys kind of like that. I think they kind of like the challenge. How many of these players do you hear talk? I mean, Michael Jordan was famous for it. He kept a list of everybody that said something about him, and he was going to prove them all wrong. And Koepka's kind of the same way. I mean, Koepka's like he's got the chip on his shoulder. He'll find something to put a chip on his shoulder. A lot of athletes are like that. So I think when the other side is cheering against you, I don't know if that's really a negative thing for that player, or if it's maybe neutral, or maybe even positive, because it's going to motivate the players, and I think they want to show everybody. So the U.S. is a heavily favored team in my mind in the Ryder Cup. Now, betting favorite, yes, they're a betting favorite for Las Vegas, for betting markets all over the world. The European team is an underdog. They're not a prohibitive underdog, but they're an underdog. Why aren't they a bigger underdog? They're not a bigger underdog because the betting markets are they're factoring in this home course advantage, which is really the home crowd advantage. The lack of noise for the U.S. But I think it's I'm going to show them attitude that the U.S. will have, that I think it overrides that. I don't think that's a big deal. That's not enough to sway me much. I'll tell you what does sway me, in my opinion. What sways me is the fact that I've always gone off this. I've gone off the world golf rankings. Now, I don't feel great about the world golf rankings because they don't include the live golf players, and it's a rigged system against the live golf. But if you're comparing it for Ryder Cup, other than Brooks Koepka, who's the only live golf player playing, other than Brooks Koepka, the rankings are all good. So the fact that Koepka is currently ranked, I don't know what he's ranked, 17th in the world golf rankings. I mean, Koepka's a top 10 player for sure. So this proves my point even more. And here's my point. If you take the 12 players that are on the European team, and you add up the world golf ranking of those 12 players, it's 29.25. 29.25. I had to check my notes here. 29.25. If you look at the U.S. team and you add up all 12 players and you divide by 12, add up their world golf ranking, the ranking is 12.91. So you've got a 16, and a half point difference for every player on the team. Now, the European team has Rory, Rahm, Hovland, 2, 3, and 4 in the world. Okay, but you're matching those guys, and so they got an edge there. Their top 3 players, are awful good. Their top 3 players average 3 in the world. The U.S.'s top 3 players, you got Scheffler 1, Cantley 5. And you got Schauffele 6. Okay, so the top 3 players on the U.S. team average 4 in the world. Not much of a difference, pretty much the same. But if you want to give an edge to Europe, you can give an edge to Europe with the top 3 players. Hovland's been playing good. Rahm's a great player. Rory's been playing good. Scheffler's had problems with his putting. Cantley and Schauffele, they make a good team. So it's hard to knock them as a team. But maybe at the top you give a little bit of an edge. If you give a little bit of edge, you give it to Europe. Okay, I could see that. But the rest of the way, oh my goodness gracious! I mean, come on. The U.S. team, top to bottom, is much better, and that's why all they have to do, the U.S. team has to do theoretically, is get through the first 2 days where they have the alternate shot and the best ball. All they have to do is get through the first 2 days and have it close. Like if the U.S. is up, like they were last time the Ryder Cup was played, if they're up after 2 days, well, take it to the bank. You can forget about it. It's over. I mean, they're not going to lose the singles. They will be favorites in. I mean, they're arguably going to be favorites in nine out of or 8 out of the 12 matches, 7 out of the 12 matches. They're favorites. So they the favorites could lose. It's 18 holes of golf. Anything could happen. The other team could make a bunch of putts. You don't make any putts. It's possible. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just talking about who should win. And who should win is the U.S. team, because top to bottom, their average world ranking is 12.91, and top to bottom, the average world ranking of the European team is 29.25. And that's now it's better than it was last time for Europe when they got boat raced in Wisconsin. It's better than it was last time, but it's still not good. There's a huge discrepancy there. And now the pairings could work out, that in the singles, maybe it works out where, Rahm ends up facing the worst player on the U.S. team, which, by the way, the worst player on the U.S. team, world ranking wise, is Ricky Fowler at 25. That's it. And Justin Thomas at 24. And Justin Thomas, you can't leave Justin Thomas at home. I mean, everybody's got you can't leave Justin Thomas. He just finished, decent at the last tournament on the PGA Tour. I mean, I don't think people on the U.S. team, at least, they do not view Justin Thomas as the 24th best player in the world. He's viewed as much better than that. And in Ryder Cup competition, he's viewed as better than that. But the thing is here is that Europe could keep it close in the first few matches, in the first 2 days, because of the fact that they're going to ride these horses. They're going to ride Rory. They're going to ride Rahm. They're going to ride Hovland. They may all play every match. They may play two matches in the morning, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, both days. They may do that. It may happen. U.S. is probably going to play everybody. They're going to wait and see how they're doing. If Justin Thomas, who a lot of people were, talking about him being picked, if he doesn't play good, I'm sure he'll end up not playing as much. And Europe's going to be heavy. They're going to be heavy on their big guns, no doubt about that. And the thought, though, is if they can keep it close, the U.S., they got a big advantage on singles, and that's the way it always is in the Ryder Cup. The U.S. always it's the depth and that's what makes the difference. The depth of the U.S. team is too much to overcome. When you look at the worst ranked player is 25th, and you look at Europe. I mean, they've got the Ludwig Overd. He looks like a great player. Two-time, best player in college, Ben Hogan Award winner. He's already won the European Masters. He's ranked 80th in the world. That ranking's probably low, because he hasn't accumulated points over. But even if you put him in the top 30, put him at 40, put him wherever you want to put him, it's still a big favorite for the U.S. team. Because Koepka's not 17th in the world either. You got to put Koepka in the top 5 somewhere. He won the PGA, won the second at the Masters. He's not 17th in the world. So you could offset that a little bit with moving Ludwig up. Ludi, they call him, and he's the one they're kind of banking on. He's a player people don't know about, young player. But how's a young player going to handle the pressure of the Ryder Cup? He seems like he's a cool customer. Maybe he won't have a problem. Who knows? But they've got other players that are just, honestly, at this point in their career, they're not that. I mean, Shane Lowry's 34th in the world, Justin Rose, Robert McIntyre, 55th in the world. Nikolai Holgren, he's 82nd in the world. This top to bottom, no. I mean, this is not a comparison. It's not even close, and that's why I think the U.S. is not going to have a problem at this Ryder Cup. I don't think they're going to have a problem at all. Now, one of the things that's interesting is Europe is always banking on, and they're always talking about they think they got the new sliced bread all the time, and they do. I mean, And every time it comes up to the Ryder Cup, they've already anointed these guys as the stars, okay? And they're the new guy. Remember, like, I don't know how many Ryder Cups back this was. It was Victor Dubuisson. Remember him? Victor Dubuisson. He was the new sliced bread. And I forget who the captain was. And this guy, and they're just throwing bouquets. I mean, they're throwing bouquets out there. Oh my God, this guy's the greatest player ever, and he's going to be great. And he won 2 times. I think he won the Turkish Airlines tournament on the European Tour. Which, by the way, the European Tour is not the PGA Tour. Let's not confuse the European Tour with the PGA Tour. But he won 2 times. That's all he did. He was a new sliced bread. Thomas Peters was the next guy. Remember at Hazeltine in Minnesota, they had him. He was this guy's the new sliced bread. He's a great. Now he's on Live Golf. He may not even keep a spot on Live Golf. He's played so bad. I mean, I'm just saying, they do this every time. Every time there's a new sliced bread, this guy's the next latest, and the next time, this guy could be the real deal. This Luby Ober, this guy could be good. I mean, he's a number 1 ranked amateur. So is Dubuisson. I mean, there's a big gap between amateur golf and professional golf. You could be the number 1 ranked amateur all you want. It doesn't make you Tiger Woods. Let's not confuse being number 1 ranked amateur with being the next Tiger Woods. Those are 2 different things. But this guy could be good, could be for real. I'm looking forward to watching him play. Everybody is looking forward to watch, and he could be. You know what? If he goes out there and he blitzes them in the Ryder Cup, this guy, this Ludi goes 5-0, then they'll anoint him the next Tiger Woods. So that's an interesting story. Going to be fun to watch. I don't see it. I don't see U.S. Not winning. I don't see. It could be lopsided if Rahm and Rory and Hovland don't just dominate. They got to play good. I mean, they got to play really good. They could. They're great players. They could, but at the Ryder Cup, it really boils down to, and not to me, to crowd, course setup. Yeah, no. You know what it boils down to? Putting. You got to make putts, and one team makes putts, the other team doesn't. Europe made nothing in Wisconsin. Last time they got smoked. They made nothing. Zippo. I mean, just like they couldn't make a thing. U.S. made everything. And in France, it was a different story. Europe was making everything. This time, who knows? If there's if you look at the U.S. team and you say, what could go wrong? Well, I mean, they got a few suspect putters. I got to admit, Scheffler's a little suspect with the putter. Justin Thomas suspect with the putter. Jordan Spieth can be suspect with the putter from 5-6 feet. Morikawa's suspect with the putter. They got some guys suspect with the putter, but it's not like it's not like the other team doesn't have guys that aren't the greatest putters either. But I would give the one factor: if U.S. doesn't come out on top, they just putt horrible. That's it. It's not going to boil down to the captain's picks. It's not going to boil down to, we shouldn't have picked Justin Thomas. That's not going to matter. If Justin Thomas isn't playing good, they won't play him, period. They're not just going to stick him out there to try and prove a point. I mean, if he's not playing good, they'll play him, one match, and then they'll play him in the singles, and that'll be it. But my guess is he'll play just fine. The difference is going to be the putting. If one team makes everything and the other team doesn't make anything, then it could be a really close match going down to the end. But close and winning is 2 separate things, and that's why I got a big bet. MGM, bet MGM. I am right there on the app, and I am going U.S., big bet. Biggest bet of the year, I'm going U.S. I didn't bet my house. I got a nice house. I didn't bet the house, but I made a big bet. So I'm going to be cheering for the U.S. But you know what? I didn't make such a big bet that I'm not mostly just cheering for. I don't want to blow out, even though I made a big bet. It's not that big a bet. I want to have a close match, and I want Goff to be the winner. And if Goff's a winner, then I'm good. Then I'm always good. Hope everybody enjoyed the podcast. Tune in to nofilter.net and also listen to my podcast. You can find it on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find it there. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. We will talk to you soon on the Hank Haney podcast.